the Capitol building. That's what we came here for, and take a tour. It's late on Monday, the 27th, but we waited around for this and we're going in. I noticed some people call this building one of New York's treasures. I think some would call it a monstrosity. I guess I'd call it interesting. Here's how it would have looked if they had completed the projected tower, which was too expensive and way too heavy to mount on the building. The building was built on a hill with a substratum insufficient to bear its weight. The substratum being of sand and clay. So the builders had to lay down a blanket of cement several feet thick to support its weight. We entered the building on the south side, the side toward the plaza, and were directed to the right, and we waited there at the Senate stairway on the east side for our tour to begin. We were about 20 minutes early. The design is a mixture, I would say mishmash, of Romanesque and classical Renaissance style. I would describe the effect as spooky. It took 32 years and 3 teams of architects to get this building up at a cost of $500 million at today's valuation. It was twice what they paid to build the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Work was started in 1867 and the building was completed in 1899, though fire subsequent to that time and much restoration has taken place since then. Governor George Clinton, New York's first governor. While we waited for our tour to begin, we toured the so-called Hall of Governors portrait gallery. Here are a few that for one reason or another retain a niche in my memory bank. This one's DeWitt Clinton, 1817 to 1822, famous for presiding over the building of the Erie Canal. Reuben Fenton, Jamestown's own. His portrait was painted by a self-taught artist, Thomas E. Dewey. My Republican father voted for Harry Truman over Thomas Dewey. I'm not sure why, probably because something he did to the disadvantage of teachers. Averell Harriman, he was governor while we were in high school. He inherited millions and no doubt brains too from his father, E. H. Harriman, who controlled several railroads, steamships, and all the rest. Here's Teddy Roosevelt. You were probably waiting for this one. Here's Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and here's Alfred E. Smith, Mom Finnegan's hero. Smith lost the presidential election to Calvin Coolidge in 1928 when Joanne's mother was only a teenager, and he lost the Democratic nomination to Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1932. His Catholicism was a political handicap. William Seward, President Lincoln's Secretary of State, one who once resided in Chautauqua County. After a 20-minute wait, we were able to join a scheduled group with a docent who gave us a tour of the building.
We're going to start our tour on the 4th floor inside the Civic Gallery. Follow me to the elevators and we'll get started.
Our first stop was the Senate chamber.
This room was designed by a gentleman named Mr. Henry Hobson Richardson. And this room originally opened in 1881. I'm going to describe the room for you, starting with the ceiling in the middle, working my way down. Our ceiling is a hand-carved oak ceiling with recesses that are 3 and 4 feet deep, which is also hand-carved oak. The gold section on the wall below the ceiling, that is a 24-karat gold leaf frieze with a fiberglass backing. Paper thin, but it's real gold. When the room was originally built, there was imported leather on the walls, very similar to what you're sitting on right here in the balcony. But over the years, the leather kept cracking. So in 1977, when they started refurbishing this room, that's when they put up that 24-karat gold. No, guys, they won't tell us how much it costs either. Very well kept secret here in this capital. Light fixture chandeliers are made out of brass. Chandeliers are on a hand pulley system, which they lower them to service somewhere around twice a year. Large squares on the walls, Mexican onyx. Strips around them, sienna marble from Italy. Also the archways over our head, opposite side of the room, round banisters down in front, all the same sienna marble. Pillars, red polished granite. In front of the room with the largest chair at the top of the podium. That chair is for the President of the Senate Chamber, who is our Lieutenant Governor of New York State, Lieutenant Governor Duffy. Small chair to the left-hand side is for a personal aide to assist him. To the right-hand side would be for a clergyman that opens each session in this room with a small prayer revolving around our 63 senators. So in other words, guys, each senator on the floor will eventually get a chance to bring in whatever priest, whatever faith, when it's their particular turn. So in this chamber, they still vote in the old Parliament tradition of using yea and nay. They still do physical counts in this room. Chairs on the floor in front of the podium. It looks like the old-time school desk with the one arm extended out. That is for the newspapers and the photographers. They're allowed to sit in on the floor of both legislative chambers when they're in session. Desk out towards the middle with the 3 chairs is for the stenographer. And the middle panel on that desk lifts up to control all the microphones in the room. But they really do not need the microphones to hear each other speak because acoustics, the sound in this room is almost perfect. Going to the opposite wall, what looks like benches built onto the wall, they're called settees. And they're in a hand-carved mahogany setting with red Spanish leather. All the leather in the room, which you're sitting on here in the balcony, senators' chairs on the floor, all have that same red Spanish leather. And the settees are for the pages. Pages are the ones who run the errands for the senators. To the rear of the room, 2 very large fireplaces. Well, guys, we found out in the last several years, not one fireplace, mind you, this is a very large building, not one fireplace in this whole Capitol was ever designed to be functional.
Now we're in the hallway just outside the Senate galleries, admiring the tiled floor.
Each tile is round. Each tile has 21 separate pieces to it. The floor was put in by the Minton China Company of England. They are still in business. We still get loads of pieces for this particular pattern. The amazing thing about this floor that you're standing on right now, it's over 127 years old. It has been able to last this long. Now, the difference between Minton tile and regular tile is they bake the color all the way down through stone. They just start glazing on top.
The design of this tile is called the friendship pattern, and that's a quilter's term. Our next stop was the assembly chamber, where the desks had all been moved back for carpet cleaning. Our docent told us this room had been
Designed by Mr. Idlitz, second of the 2 major architects. Very first working room to open in the building, 2 years before the Senate, 1879. Now, there's been some major changes in this room. 3 different ceilings. The original ceiling is right over your head right now, right in this balcony. That vaulted ceiling over your head. Get this, that vaulted ceiling was out there. It went another 30 feet above what you're looking at right now. Wow. Not only did you have the massive vault in the middle of the room, smaller ones like this in the balcony, all the way around the large one. So for that reason, at that time, it was considered to be the largest attempted vaulted ceiling in the world. Attempted. There was a problem. The ground up under this Capitol eventually shifts and the original ceiling cracks. Now at first the members weren't concerned about that because they come in the room, find a little bit of dust on top of the desk, brush it aside, and keep on working. Until one day, one member comes in and finds a piece of that ceiling the size of a bowling ball weighing about 7 to 8 pounds on top of one of these desks. Everybody becomes serious and they all take their work out of the Capitol until it can be repaired. 3 years unrepairable, they take it out. So they put the second ceiling in, looking very similar to what we see right now. Hand-carved oak ceiling, no big deal. The problem was the large recess panels. They were supposed to have been hand-carved oak. The construction company fooled them by putting in panels of paper mache and painting the paper mache over to make it look like it was oak wood. Now, when our very smart legislators found out about this, and they did the right thing, they took them to court. This is what they didn't do right. They lost the court case. How they did it? Still don't know to this day. But guess what? It turned out to be a very big blessing for the Capitol. We had a fire, March 29th, 1911. It started in the Legislative Law Library, 3rd floor, that $1 million staircase. Fire comes across the ceiling, comes through the old air ducts into this room. Now, before it's able to reach the room, the firemen go into the ceiling, they start knocking out panels, and they begin to flood this room with water. So, eventually what happens is, the paper mache that was still in the ceiling, that soaked up water, helped contain the fire to this room until they got it up under control. So, till this day, we still credit that same paper mache for saving the Capitol. The room, basically, design is totally different from the Senate. Procedure-wise, some things are similar and a lot of things are different. Now, we're standing over the podium. All the basic stuff I told you about how the podium is set up with the priests and everything, and the clerks, it's all the same here. The major difference is the person in charge in this room is called the Speaker of the Assembly. In most other states and federal government, it's called the House. New York State, it's called the Assembly. The Assembly is controlled by the Democrats. Naturally, that makes our Speaker a Democrat, Sheldon Silver. Best feature for you guys, though, first-time visitors in this Capitol, let's say it's when both chambers are in session. I'm always going to tell you the Assembly chamber, come visit. The reason why? They have electronic voting in this room, and this electronic voting makes it so easy for the first-time visitors who are not used to the political language that the members use to be able to understand what they're talking about. Voting box on their desk, connected to the computer system that's in the podium below us, connected to the black scoreboards below the windows on both sides of the room. Now, when those boards are active, all 150 members' names are on both sides. 3 dots next to each person's name will show you how they vote. Green for yes, red for no, orange for abstain.
Our tour guide left the most notable architectural feature of the Capitol building till nearly last, the famous $1 million staircase.
It's on the western side of the Capitol. They call it the $1 million staircase because this staircase costs over $1.5 million to build it. It's made out of sandstone that comes from Scotland.
$1 million staircase.
Up until August 8th, 2002, that skylight had been covered over since World War II, 1942, which they did that to protect this building from air raids. So originally what they did was they put wallpaper on the inside and they painted it black. In the early 60s, they painted it gold on the inside and they there used to be two chandeliers. When they reopened it, they took those chandeliers out because they knew on bright, bright sunny days, just like right now, the sun would do much more than what the chandeliers are capable of. And as I've been telling this other couple, because they came up on the train.
That would be Joanne and me.
These are hanging in the train station, Amtrak train station, on the other side of the Hudson River from the Capitol. No idea what they were doing when they put electricity in this building. They used to dangle the wires down the ceiling. They used to insulate them with horsehair. Horsehair dried out, wires touched, got a spark, and that's how the fire started. And as I said, that was in the Legislative Law Library right there on the 3rd floor. We lost one person in the fire. It was the caretaker of the Capitol. Of course, the fire was at 4 o'clock in the morning. And here's one of the pictures of after the fire, how the fire blew out the glass skylight.
300 Italian artisans were hired to carve the capitals of these columns. They were paid an exorbitant amount of $3 a day at the time, and they were contracted to carve the likenesses of famous American personages.
Abraham Lincoln in the front, Frederick Douglass is on this side, Longfellow poets, tucked all the way down in the corner, Mr. Walt Whitman, who was a writer from Huntington, Long Island. Famous ladies would be Molly Pitcher, Sybil B. Anthony, Clara Barton, who starred on the Red Cross. Once again, any face you see without a name, little tiny ones around Lincoln's head, large ones over there, on the wall behind me.
Having satisfied their contractual obligations, the stone carvers were free to carve the faces of anyone they liked, including family members and children. Here's a section of the Capitol that isn't quite so Gothic. I see it's a Dunkin' Donuts franchise. Passing by the legislators' lounge in the basement, we go back out on Washington Street, find our car, and go on our way. It's been a most enjoyable afternoon at the New York State Capitol.